Michkov was the story of Friday. He played one of the two games. It was the first time he was in a formal game situation wearing a Flyers jersey. He's the reason why people came up. He's the reason why we gave out tickets. To me, the most impressive part about Michkov's game on Friday was the passing. When he had the puck, you just expected, and it'd be very quickly from the midpoint of the first period on, you would just expect he was going to make the right decision. And not just the right decision, the best decision. He was making moves with the puck. And I made this point about Sean Couturier before. I made it a ton with Claude Giroux. Yeah. Where when you watch games from up top, you can usually see what a player should do before he does it. Mm-hmm. And it's not because you are a hockey genius. It's because
it's very obvious.
It's very much easier to see it when you're watching from above. Everything looks slower. And it just, if you have a baseline level hockey knowledge, you can see like, oh, that guy's open. That guy's not. That guy's going to be open in about a half a second. He should do that play. What I love about the really smart players is that you see what play he should make, and he makes a better one. Yeah. He makes a play you didn't even see. And there were multiple times in this game where Michkov made a play with the puck that I would not have even thought was an option. And then it's like, it becomes a scoring chance because Michkov saw something that even with the benefit of being up top, I didn't see. And that really impresses me.
There's one out front to Luchenko that I still, maybe it didn't, I still don't know how he scored. There was like, I put in the outline, could have had 2 or 3 assists.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like very easily. It showed to me, it was the show you weren't on, so Thursday, the first on-ice day of rookie camp. Right. And we showed the 2-on-1 spinorama pass he used. And you look at that, and as just an outside observer, you go, oh, well, that's him, man. He's a flashy guy. Same thing why he pulls the Michigan and stuff. And it's really, he sees this more efficient way to get the puck, whether it's taking a shot or setting someone else up. He creates this play. Like he uses it. It's not just to be flashy. It's very much a functional, well, I'm behind the net and I can just pick it up and put it in. Yeah. Or like if I do this spin, suddenly I'll have an extra 1.5 feet to get this pass on the angle it needs to go. And it's not like he did that in the game, but the slickness with the puck movement for a guy who we've said he's out there to score goals. Like his primary,
I am going that on the goal.
Yeah, and we saw it like I am going to put this in the net. Yeah. His primary focus is like I'm going to score. Right. He was able to, whether it was taking shots himself, and he could have had a couple himself, or with some very slick passes, like you said, efficient, like seeing stuff that most guys don't see. He was a better playmaker than I expected, and that's for a team that's. I knew it was going to be good because he's just a really good player, but I just kind of was wondering, especially in his first game, he knows why everyone's there. Maybe he wants to do more. He wants to be a little bit more Owen Tippett, where it's like, you know what I'm doing. But it wasn't. It was whatever's open, man. If the shot's there, I'm taking it. And if I think I could thread a pass, I'm absolutely going to try to get it over there. And he was very good at both of those things.
Yeah, I was really excited how quickly the hockey IQ, the passing, how quickly that translated. It basically took him about 7 minutes to figure out everything. And then from that point on, he looked every bit of what I expected him to look like in that game. Now, again, and this is important to point out, this was against rookies and prospects and camp invites. The Rangers do not have a great prospect pool anyway. Some of their best prospects weren't even in this game. Like Perreault was not in this game because he's in college still. So this was not high-end competition. But as we talked about last week, like, it would have been concerning if he didn't look this good because this isn't high-end competition yet. And he did look that good, and that's just a box checked. It's like, oh, yeah, okay. So he can still do it against this group. Now, in a week, we'll see him in his first preseason game against all guys who are a little bit more pro-ready, if not pros. Yeah. Then further into preseason, we're going to see him against almost entirely pro teams.
NHL players.
Then regular season, we're going to see him against regular season final rosters, and we're going to see. But this was a box that he checked, and he checked it in ways that seem sustainable. Like he played the things he was really good at in this game are things that I fully expect he will continue to be really good at even as the competition increases, the vision, the anticipation, the willingness. This was big. I loved the willingness, not that he was throwing hits, but he was willing to battle. He was willing to shake off checkers on the goal. He knew he was getting bulldozed.
Yeah,
and it didn't matter. It was just, I'm putting this puck in the net.
Putting the puck in the net.
And if I get knocked over after I put the puck in the net, it's worth it.
Goal still counts.
Because I put the puck in the net, and he gets up, he does the big celebration. But he had some really fantastic work behind the net with guys on top of him. You could see, we talked about how he's beefy up in the upper body. He showed it. And say what you will about the talent level on that Rangers roster, it might not have been the most talented team. It was a big team.
So Friday night I'm in the 6th row. Saturday I'm on the glass. Those dudes were freaking gigantic.
Yeah.
That Edstrom guy.
He's quite large.
But the Rangers
and he wasn't the only one.
No, the Rangers have 5 dudes who are at least 6'4", 6'5".
Yep.
They have some monsters out there. Yep. And that's something I want to talk about with Emil Andre that was really impressive
but
as well.
But those were the guys that were leaning on him.
Yeah.
And no, they're not NHLers, but if you're 6'7", it's going to be hard to play against them regardless, especially when you're in a small area where you can't use your speed and skill necessarily to just put the puck through his legs. He had those guys on top of him, and he's still making plays and making passes to Jetluchenko and setting up scoring chances. Those are the types of things where you're like, okay. And that's what he's still going to be able to do when it becomes October 15th rather than September 15th.
And that's what, when you said the sustainable, the things he excelled at looked sustainable.
Yes.
It's not as if he was just abusing some 7th rounder who's gonna play in the ECHL out there. He poked it through his legs, took it on a breakaway, and scored twice that way. It wasn't that. Yeah. It was the thing that really stuck out: the small area game, fighting through contact, all those little things. Something else. I know we've joked he's working on his English, and if he attacks it the way he attacks the net, man, he'll be fluent in December. He was really talkative out there, directing traffic at face-offs, just talking to his teammates. We've said, hockey language somewhat universal. You go stand over there means the same thing in every language. There. Yeah. But he was definitely not a social passenger.
No, and he's not going to be.
He's take charge, even though he doesn't know any of these guys. He's been on the ice with them some, more the NHL guys, really. But he's been on the ice with some of these guys, and they've had informal practices. They started on the ice on Thursday at rookie camp, but he doesn't know these dudes. And we've said they don't have anyone who speaks Russian. He seemed to get along. He seemed to be able to communicate with them just fine.
I will say, number one, it was a great sign. And I did an interview. This is actually on allphly.com. Definitely check it out. I did a feature primarily on Igor Zamula about his growing friendship with Matvei Michkov. I'm really proud of the piece. Highly recommend you check it out. It's for diehards only, so just another reason for you to become a diehard.
Great sell.
But one thing that Zamula did say is that hockey is the universal language. I'm not concerned about that. He's going to find ways to talk to his line mates in a way that everyone can understand because it's hockey. It'll be fine. However, I am fascinated to see how this is all going to play out in NHL games. Because here's the thing. In rookie camp, and I'm not saying everybody was like this, Emil Andre, for example, and I like this about Emil Andre. When we interviewed him, we asked him about Michkov, and he basically said that he's super competitive, and I love that. I'm super competitive too. He didn't seem starstruck around Michkov. It's just another guy who I think I'm an NHL caliber player. He's an NHL caliber player. Cool. We've talked to guys, and they seem legitimately starstruck about this guy. Where it's he's going to be a star, and I'm just trying to make it as a pro. Holy crap, this is so cool. Those are the kind of guys where if he tells one of them to go in that spot, they're going to do it. If he tries to do that game 2 in the NHL, I'm not saying that players are going to have a problem with it. I'm just saying I'm interested to see what the reaction is going to be if he tells Sean Couturier to go there,
And that might be where it's you might need more communication. So after the game, they can say, well, I was seeing this, so I wanted you to go there. Yeah. And he's well, I saw something else. But them being Sean Couturier, perfect example. we have no idea where he is, like health, skill-wise, what he's going to be able to actually execute out there. But he didn't have a traumatic brain injury. He still thinks the game at a very high level. I'm thinking, like we've said, maybe Michkov plays with Frost, and you have that playmaker with the goal scorer, and they can kind of, like, that'll see, okay, and then we'll be able to see what Frost really has, because we'll have a line mate who's better than all that stuff. But especially for this time, maybe Sean Couturier is the best possible line mate, because they can kind of speak the same language, not Russian, but hockey.
Yeah. I'm just saying that it's good because I very much noticed that. I noticed that Michkov was directing traffic. Yes. He was before the face-off telling people where to go. And part of this, too, is that they didn't really practice the power play much. It's not like they have systems, really. So he was more or less creating a system on the fly, because what else were they going to do? They did a little bit of practicing of the power play at morning skate on Friday, but nothing serious. Whereas in the NHL, they're going to have a power play system. They apparently have a power play coach in Rocky Thompson. So they're going to have things they are told to do. Yeah. So he's not going to be drawing up a play like you're playing football on the beach in the sand. But I am interested to see what is going to happen when Michkov sees something, and he probably will actually see it. It won't be him BSing. It's, hey, I'm a hockey genius, and I saw this. And he tells Joel Farabee, or he tells Tyson Forrester, or he tells Garnet Hathaway what to do. Like, these are guys that have been in the league for a while. And they have, and I don't think they're bad guys. I don't think any of them are. But you're a professional hockey player. You got an ego. You think you're the shit. You have to think that if you're an NHL player. You have to believe that you are good at what you do. And if Michkov is going to come in and tell them, no, you should do this because I say so, even though I'm 19 and have played 3 NHL games, I'm just curious to see how it's going to be received by his teammates.
And that's, like, in the position he was in, especially on Friday, like, it's a bunch of guys who he's better than. And obviously, and like on the power play especially, he's the point guard. Right. Like, he should be directing track. He is setting the thing up. He is telling everyone what's going to work for him.
And Ian LaPerriere straight up said before the game, Michkov is going to run the power play.
Well, who else? Who else would do it?
But apparently there was a moment. I missed this, but I think someone in the stadium put this in our Discord. There was apparently a moment where he got caught yelling at Sulku. Of basically like barking at him back to the bench, kind of like, who knows if he was saying it in the little English he knows or Russian, but it was clear he was frustrated that Sulku, who was largely playing the net front spot on that power play, didn't do what he wanted him to do or what he saw. And again, fine, but also it'll be interesting when that guy is Travis connecting.
It will be. It absolutely will be.
We all silly like the mayor.